This is my back body and front body. Yours would be that way. The front body and the back body create a middle body, the mesoderm. And it begins, the site we have now of the beginning is the center of the perineum, the perineal body. It wasn't a perineal body then, that's the site of what we have now. And what happens is that it starts to grow this way up through the very center of these two plates. So when we talk about the center of the body, we're not talking about the vertebrae, they're more in the back of the body. We're talking about the very center, because this was our body. It wasn't plastic, though. And it comes up a little ways in something called the primitive streak. And the primitive streak ends at the primitive node. Sometimes you'll see it written as the primitive knot, K-N-O-T, but I'm saying primitive node. Choose either one. And out of the primitive node grows the notochord. And the notochord grows up to the stalk of the pituitary. I'll say all of that again. The front body and the back body come together in the very center and send up a primitive streak. The primitive streak ends in the primitive node or knot, primitive knot. Out of that primitive knot, the notochord grows up to what is now the base of the pituitary behind the nose there. As the primitive streak gives rise to the primitive knot and the notochord, as the notochord grows up, the primitive node and the primitive streak withdraw back to the place that it began, back to its place of origin. So in a certain way, the notochord becomes from the perineum to the pituitary. Shall I say that again? The front body and the back body give rise to the primitive streak, which if we now in our body would be the perineal body. It grows up to the primitive knot or node. From the node grows the notochord to the pituitary, and as it's growing upward, the primitive knot and the primitive streak withdraw back to the place of origin as the notochord grows to the pituitary, stalk of the pituitary. Something that I've researched from the mid-60s was Eric Hawkins said, "Lift but don't lift, do without doing." And he would say, before you go into a plie, sticky, lift. So we were all lifting before we lowered, but he wasn't. He was just lifted. It was like, that's just what you do, but we were all making a lift. And I spent, in my way, hours with a cup. And I could never find where the curve was until I just picked up the cup and set it down. I could never figure out what the arc was unless I just did it. And that was my research for a long time. How I'm just naturally moving, and not that I have to lift. to lower. That there's some kind of a curvular form in life rather than straight line. Okay. In the literature, most of the literature says that the middle body arises from the back body. And I tried that for a long time, couldn't find it until I added the front body. And what emerged from that was, for me, is that the back body gives the form of the middle body, and the front body gives the flow. And the flow isn't being explored in traditional embryology or anatomy. So I'd like to show you movement for that.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'll say it again. That when you read embryology, they will show you pictures of how the middle body, the red, is created by the back body cells coming forward. But in movement, it's a bit, nothing happens. Until, well, from this, not the truth again, but my experience that I'm wanting to share is that when the front body is added, there's movement. And I'd like to show what I mean by that. And I've also read in the literature that they don't really know. And getting older, my fascia has a tendency to get not as elastic, thank you. It dries out some. I think the aging process is basically about dehydration. That when the tissues are fluid and viscous, they stay healthier. So as I go forward here, whatever is my range, can you see this is about it? I could push and you could push me down. I could tear a few muscles and fascia, but this is about it. So what I found was going to the center of my perineum between the two sits bones. Does everyone know what I'm saying? As I can get a model. And halfway, between the pubis and the coccyx. If I go there, here you can see I can move around, right? I can kind of jiggle or something. But when I go to my back body and I feel cells I'm saying cells and fluid. It's a memory, but it's a felt memory. Moving to the center of my perineum, moving up to my pituitary, I have more form, and I can't jiggle around. Can you see? I'll let it go. I'm more like this, and I can move. This is just my range right now. But when I feel from the back, my back body, up through the very center, I'm here. I have form. So I go, oh, that must be how the back body creates the middle body. But if I want to stay in form, that's middle body created by back body. Not making anything. So at that place, I'm here. And I don't know if you can see, I'm at my range. I'm not all over. I have this middle axis. When my front body then sends cells into the primitive streak, I have flow. I don't lose the form, but I have flow. I could take any posture, so yoga is about postures. Hopefully not only, but if I want to go this way and I go, okay, I'm going to do a side bend. I have all kinds of movement, but if I find back body into perineal body, up the primitive streak, I'll have this. The best I can do at the moment. But I don't move now. So I could stay here for quite a while. When I add the front body, my front body, not yours, my front body into middle body, I have more flow, which is different than this. So in a little bit, we're switching to the glands, the perineal body as the lowest gland. I have found for myself, because I like to be flexible. I still have an image, a self-feeling of a dancer. So so every day I do some, not stretching, but releasing back body into middle body, front body. And if I do this enough, very slowly, I eventually can lay out without ever stretching. And it's this front body into what must be the Sushumna Nadi. It's exactly where it's described, of this open space. There's an amazing regenerative power. I cannot tell you how much I have experienced for myself and others that one doesn't get by stretching or strengthening, but through uncovering the life force that's inside of us, that's free. You'll be surprised. I'm always surprised with each new engagement. You know, I'm just showing you one way, but later you can have someone go down your back and you go down someone's back, or they can be on the front and the back. There are different ways to transmit. But down the back, cells are migrating. They're still migrating in us. We have stem cells migrating all the time. If you look into Netter's Atlas of Anatomy, which is quite a popular book, he calls the perineal body the central tendon of the pelvic diaphragm. So you'll find that in some books, but he was also older, it's an older book. But if you look in the anatomy coloring book, it's called the perineal body. It's just a more modern book, even though his is more official.
The sixth edition has perineal body.
Huh?
The sixth edition of Natter has perineal body.
I have the first edition. It does not have it there, but that's great. So it's changing. If you find out what's being secreted by it, it does have a blood supply. I would like to know who's doing the research on this. The yogis obviously did, and the Kundalini energy and other kinds of expression. I imagine the Sufis had to, because of the whirling and the opening So through somatic practices, it's known. This is where if someone gives birth, that's where the episiotomy is. So it's such a powerful center that it knows itself and regenerates as a new seed. But it is an area that many women have had, you may have to awaken it, but you awaken it like that. So back body first, I found if I start with the front body, I'm kind of lost. I don't have a form. You have to find your own. So first, move in some direction where you're looking at your range. It could be a turn, it could be side, it could be forward. I happen to like this one that I was doing because I want to still be able to go forward. I find my hips, when they're loose, I feel different than when they become tight. But anyone that you want, and then you go forward and just see where you are, and you can move around. You're kind of just easy, no pushing, no stretching. Just find your place. And then place one hand in the back of your buttocks there, and then going to the center where you have to find it. There is a place, and it has a glandular sense because it's an energetic center. Something happens when you find it. And then there's a rising upward a certain way, and then it withdraws back down. I didn't say that when I did it. So that there's this sense of there's a sense of this coming upward, but it's not this at all. You have to, first of all, if you're holding your belly in so it won't show, it won't work. You do have to let what your form is. You do have to let your form be what it is. And it is. And so something comes up, but then it goes down. There's something that withdraws. So I'm standing, so you see this leg is more rooted, where when you're sitting like that, you won't feel that necessarily. So whatever your form is, that will be where you are. And then your front body cells move down and come in, and it will give you a flow downward. You can't make it. You could try, but it just flows. So the back body giving form to the middle body, and the front body giving flow. So the middle body is form and flow, not just form. It doesn't disprove the form, but it proves that it's not only form. It gives alignment to the spine in the sense that the vertebrae are middle body. So when you just kind of fold forward, your spine is willy-nilly. I don't know how to translate willy-nilly, but it's just willy-nilly. But when you find the form, then you find, it's more than alignment, but I don't know what the word is. You'll find integrity of the spine. And then when you add the front body, the integrity remains, and you move the integrity of the spine. Let the notochord go all the way to the root of the pituitary. So your head isn't hanging, it's suspended rather than hanging. But anyone who wants to find more range than you have, if you put a Gurdie ball under your coccyx, Not the center of your pelvis, but the back half. It may give you a little support. It's not sitting flat on it, but getting that little lift in the back. In a certain way, you have to give up the desire to go all the way. And accept what actually, who you are. So the glands are very different in consciousness from the organs. They're crystalline forms. The organs are friendly. This is the first of the endocrine glands that we're exploring. And you can feel how the consciousness is very different. There's another kind of, words that came to me were crystalline forms. But also it can be chaos when they're not sitting. There's a clarity and a specificity that isn't that's different than the organs. The organs were friendly and kind of schmoozy and all, but the glands are, hopefully will have more of the clarity of the crystal. And each of us will have different ways of expressing this difference. So you can add the organs to here. We haven't thrown them out. It's just they're now inside of a form that's specific. Let me say something else. It's different to be in the back body than to be in the cells of the back body in the middle body. And different to be in the front body than in the front body cells in the middle body that are creating the middle body. So to be in the front and the back is different than being in the cells of the front that are creating the middle and the cells of the back that are creating the middle.